Hello and welcome to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I'm your host, George Wacker, and today we are on location at Touchstone Theatre in South Bethlehem to talk with JP Jordan, Samantha Beedle, and Emma Ackerman about Christmas City Follies 22, which is going on December 2nd through the 19th. It's their annual Vaudevillian holiday celebration. It's one of the most unique performances I think you're going to see in the Lehigh Valley every year, and really encourage you to check it out. We talk about how they come up with ideas, where this came from. We talk a little bit about Touchstone and its role in the community. This is a lot of fun. I don't want to give anything away here because there was a lot of interesting things that we all covered from a lot of different perspectives. But I do want to thank our sponsors, Michael Bernardin with Remax Realty and Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub, also in South Bethlehem, along with Touchstone. Again, visit touchstone.org for your tickets. You can buy them now, December 2nd through the 19th, on location at Touchstone Theatre, talking about Christmas City Follies 22.
This is fun. We're on stage at Touchstone Theatre I hope we get to talk about what this box is for people who are watching the video version of this podcast. But let's get our introductions out of the way. JP's been on the pod. Sam was on a famous podcast episode we did. Don't go listen to it. This is Emma's first time. So I want to, first of all, thank you guys. If you don't mind, quickly, for people listening, to introduce yourselves and say what you do at Touchstone.
Sure. I'm JP Jordan. I am the artistic director of Touchstone Theatre. And for the sake of today's podcast, I am also the director of Christmas City Follies.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm Sam Beedle, and I'm an ensemble affiliate with Touchstone Theatre and a content creator.
Yeah, you're good.
And I'm Emma Ackerman. I'm an ensemble member here at Touchstone, and I am a performer slash stage manager for this production.
And many roles.
Yeah, and
we all wear many hats here at Touchstone.
And that's what we're gonna get into. JP, if you could give us a little bit of a description of what Touchstone is, why it may be different than maybe what you think when you think of community theater.
Yeah, sure. So community theater, in its even just in that phrase, is a bit off. What we do is community-based work here at Touchstone, and so different people call it different things. Community theater, largely in the States here, is thought of as amateur theater doing professional shows, such as something like Civic Theater would do, and they do it masterfully. But what we do is we concentrate on issues that are happening within the community and how we can help them. That's not the only thing we do. When we're being do-gooders, that's what we do. Sometimes we get to geek out and just create nonsense. But core to our mission here is community-based work and what we can be doing to respond to issues, or, as people come to us and as we're noticing, like, hey, this is happening. And that really kind of, Touchstone turns 40 this year, and they've always been involved with that type of work to one degree or another. But in 1999, that really took off when Touchstone did Steelbound. Mm-hmm. And that's when, right after the Steel had closed, Touchstone brought about 100 steel workers and their family members back to the site of the steel, and over a 2-year period, along with a partner organization, Cornerstone, out of LA, we collected all their stories and turned it into a theatrical event. And then every about 3 to 4 years, due to the work that has to go into these things, you'll see one of these things manifest at Touchstone. Most recently, we started the Festival on Bound in 2019, which was on the 20th anniversary of Steelbound. And then,
you were even able to continue to do that during the pandemic. You guys didn't. Yep. You might have shut your physical doors for indoor stuff, but you didn't shut down during that time period.
Yeah, the pandemic hit, and I think there was this huge shudder. It was like, oh my God, like through the performance world, what are we going to do? And it's like, we're just going to listen. We're gonna shut up for a hot second. The world's burning. Let's just stop for a second, and it'll tell us what it wants to do. And then we start looking at like different alternatives. What is it that we can be doing if we can't be in the theater here? And so what happened was we decided we were going to do outdoor work in our parking lot. We have this nice big parking lot. We have these 2 big balconies on the backside of Touchstone. And so we had gone through the trouble of even buying FM transmitter equipment.
Okay.
To be able to do drive-in movie experience.
You put it, yeah.
Yeah, so live performances, but drive-in. And we were able to, there were 16 cars we could fit in the parking lot. And then as soon as we buy that equipment, the governor says, hey, these are outside dining rules. And so we say, wait, okay, so if they're allowed to do that, then
we can have outdoor dining and theater.
So basically we did applied dinner theater. So we did the community-based work, but instead of having a murder mystery, right, it was like, medical workers and first responders come out to tell their stories. And we'd bring in, Molly's was here as our resident bar throughout the entire thing, and different restaurants would come in as well, and they'd serve their food. Chaz would sell booze and sometimes food as well. So we were trying to help out the local community and the struggling restaurateurs, as well as get the word out and be able to kind of conduct this thing in a way that was still serving the community.
And I think that one of the big things that came up in the pandemic in general was that Touchstone was sort of uniquely fortunate in our ability to pivot quickly and respond, because we're used to doing original work, we're used to doing outdoor work, we're used to kind of, like JP was saying, listening to what the community needs and then saying, okay, based on that, we need to go really quick in this direction and make something cool. So that was really tested, obviously, over the last 2 years, but it was a challenge that I think we rose to pretty enthusiastically, and we're really, really fortunate to be able to do so.
I think it's always a matter of like to create in a vacuum is impossible, right? People are like, I want freedom to do whatever I want to do. And then it's like, you're put in that situation and it's like,
what do I do? What does it matter I do?
Right. It's like I think about creativity as like a racquetball course. You know what I mean? And like, you've got to have you've got to slowly start building the walls up. So when you can whip that ball against the thing, you can have it start going. And then in that chaos is where, ideas can really form and take shape, and then you can you can create within that.
And I know we're going to talk about being inside, which is great, especially in the winter, but being outside was something that maybe never would have happened if COVID didn't hit. Or would have happened maybe slow. I mean, outside, I know you guys do a lot of stuff outside. I mean, the outdoor stage, and specifically, that may not have materialized as quickly without it. So it's somewhat, you were able to take this hard period of time and make something from it that could be then useful in the future.
Absolutely. That new outdoor stage was the genius inspiration of our neighbor. Our next door neighbor basically pointed to this empty space close to our parking lot and said, you guys should build a stage there. And
I believe what he said was, you should build a party deck.
Exactly, counts very, yeah. But yeah, again, this was early enough in things that we were able to say, let's write for a grant to do that. And it's definitely because of the pandemic that stage got built, but it will absolutely have a life long past that.
And that's all quintessential Touchstone, listening to their community and then pivoting and making something special happen when people don't expect it.
Well, I was at the Young Playwrights Festival outside. I brought my daughter, my wife.
And a magical evening.
But you're out there, and it was one of those things where we were up in the back, so we're kind of in the field area there on the grass, and just watching this whole thing kind of take shape. You're like, this is happening in our city. This is wild. Like, where else does this kind of stuff really take place? So it was special that it not only did it not stop you from doing stuff, but it kind of, you were like, hey, this is a challenge, to your point, like now we have to create. What do we do in this box?
Yeah. It's exciting. Like you can sit there and think the doldrums of it, but it's like, no, this is the best. Okay, cool.
Anything's possible.
Yeah. Let's think it anew,
And we're here for Christmas City Follies, so now we can finally get into that. I'll tell my quick story. The first time I was ever acquainted with Touchstone, I came to this, but it was very much, and again, not saying anything bad about any of the regular performances, like the Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, sure, the classics.
It's like, we need that.
Sure.
But I came in for this, and we watched it, and then we came back the next year, and I'm like, I watched this last year. I'm gonna be in. I'm like, wait a minute, none of this stuff is the same. I'm like, did we miss a different show or something? And then someone explained to me, no, every year there are some, we'll talk about recurring characters, but it's all written new. And it's, I want to kind of start with, I guess we'll get to that, how you write it all. But if you could then describe them, what I said, how it's new every year, and this is the 20th anniversary? 22nd. So tell us then about Christmas City Follies specifically, and what makes it special too, like what I had just said, how it's so different, but still there are those things that you look forward to every year.
Sure.
You want to feel this?
Sure, absolutely. So Follies is this delightful experience that we as actor creators get to build every year. And the theme is always the same. It's about, it's a send-up, a vaudevillian send-up of the Christmas season in the Christmas city. And where we go from that could be literally anywhere. Sometimes it's about, dancing hippopotamuses and tutus.
Or Kwanzaa Panther.
And sometimes it's about Kwanzaa Panther.
I hope he comes back. That was my favorite character.
And sometimes there's clowns. There's always a lot of ukuleles. We have our sort of, like you said, our standard things that come back. But the way it starts out is we'll get the year's ensemble together, and it'll be the sort of recurring cast, the old timers, which is, at this point, the two of us. Yeah, you're old. You're old. Good job.
Official.
Yeah. So the two of us and Mary Wright, Touchstone's education director, and Bill George, the co-founder of the company, as well as our MFA students. We have 8 of them in the ensemble this year. They're all delightful. And we all get in the room together and start spewing out ideas. And the ideas might be very well developed, like, I think I want to create a dance sequence that uses, moving lights, and it imitates the aurora borealis, and it's a metaphysical music. And others are like,
you should write that down.
Yeah. All right, next year. And others are like, I want to do something with cows, something for cows at Christmas. Okay, great. And whatever the ideas are, no matter how big or small, we write them down on Post-it notes, stick them up on the wall, and then by the end of that first brainstorming session, we just have this massive wall of ideas, of sticky notes. And from those...
And what time of year is that in a usual year?
October. So okay. we start our Christmas season early to mid-October.
1 week after Christmas, one week after Festival Unbound goes down.
That still sounds like a quick turnaround, though, doesn't it? To write all this stuff?
Like, I mean, it is. It's fast. It's fast.
But is that part of it? Like, why it's...
I think there's just, we're moving so fast, and we're doing like 10 to 6. So we're spending 8 hours 3 times a week in a room together. Mm-hmm. We're churning out content and listening to it and listening to each other, giving each other some ideas, deciding, when JP isn't into it, when he just goes, okay. But he's into it. He's not into it then. But a lot of times, it keeps moving to the next round, and if it's good enough, we'll add a little extra to it.
And really, like those first 2 weeks especially are just about getting new ideas out there and on the table, and getting as many of those billions of weird ideas that we've got up on the wall up on their feet, so we can see what works and what doesn't.
And is it something where JP or because imagine an album, you have 20 songs and you have to be like, okay, we have to cut this one even though it's great.
Mm-hmm. The Conductor.
Yeah, so by the way, I usually, this is my 17th year working on Follies.
Wow. Right.
And so 16th or 17th, but I was a musical director for the first 3 of those, and then I've been the director since then. And so I've always approached, up until 2019, I've approached it as an album. In a way, creatively, coming from, initially I was a musician before and a fan of music, and so I've always thought, cool, there's an A side and a B side of this thing, and how's it going to flow? And so I'm glad you caught on. But then when the pandemic hit, it blew the album up.
We can make a white album.
But then that's when we did the Follies movie.
Right, and that, so last year, let's talk quick.
But then in this year, we decided, just on the album thing, that now we can do a record. So we had to do a CD this year, because there's no intermission. We don't flip the album at all. So now, instead of being what usually was 2 60-minute acts, now it's a 90-minute thing, no intermission. And so these hundreds of ideas on the wall that are these sticky notes go from being probably about 100 of them on the wall.
Yeah,
sticky notes
easily
will get whittled down in a normal album type year to 12 per act.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can we backtrack quick to, because you said you've been part of this for 17 years, this particular one. Where did Christmas City Follies come from? Was that just, hey, did you take it from another place if somebody saw it? Was it?
They started with a show originally, I believe. I might have the timeline wrong here, but I'm pretty sure they started to do a show called Christmas Revels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this was up at, they performed it up at Packard Chapel. It may have overlapped Follies to some degree, but then there was a huge influx of people into the company around that time that studied with this gentleman, Jacques Lecoq, and he was a clown teacher and a physical theater teacher, and so the Follies sprung out of that group there and that kind of iteration of the Touchstone Ensemble. And so the first two, I believe, happened over at the Ice House. They weren't even here in the space. Okay. I don't even know if this space was finished when I'm pretty sure like Touchstone proper didn't, like the building didn't exist during the first two. But then I think from number 3 on, they've been all on the space, and haven't always from 5 on have been concurrent. But before then, they would they'd alternate years. And so Mary Wright, who Emma mentioned before, our education director, she had a piece called The South Side Experience, was kind of loosely based around a holiday theme that looked at the history of the South Side, which is really kind of brilliant as well. But yeah, from the 5th one on, it's been here in the space.
I would say the other main inspiration with the early ones anyway was there was a lot more sense of like sort of traditional vaudeville, and a lot more of sort of like, two comedians up on stage, waka waka waka, going back and forth with patter and jokes and puns, and over the years that's evolved. Some years it feels, more specifically like an album. Some years it feels a little bit more of a Saturday Night Live kind of vibe. Some years it's more of a Muppet Show kind of vibe. It's all over the place in terms
and it all
of
sounds great.
Yes.
You are probably the newest out of these.
Oh, for sure.
So when you come into a performance like this and you're like, okay, do you have to like go back and watch the last 5 Christmas City Follies, or is it able to just we
specifically try to hide the tape so no one gets to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I was wondering if you want to watch film theater anyway. Don't do it. Stop. Go see it live or just donate.
If you tell somebody something's supposed to be something, then it becomes something. Yeah. And that's what again their mind is like, I got to fit in this niche. So
no, but I would say personally for me as a performance-based artist, this is like the holy grail kind of, because you get to go into a space in like the middle of the week and come up with ideas and I love coming up with ideas and like figuring out like skits and I love doing comedy. It's just an exciting time for me as a performer because it's literally the most welcoming room until we're no more ideas, until no more new ideas day. It's the most welcoming group because it's everyone's yesing each other, and you can say anything, and it's not weird, it's not crazy, it's not bad. It's just let's do it and let's see what works.
And does the tradition and like everyone loves this performance and look forward to it, does that kind of motivate you as well? Like, I don't know if you want to say we have to be better than last year, but we want to be like more exciting or just as exciting and make it memorable, or
every year. I mean, this is my 4th year, and one of those years was the movie. Sure. I think they always get better because I feel like the more you do something, the more you practice, the more you think about it, the better it can get. And I think every year just keeps topping itself, personally.
Yeah. I'd never set out with the idea of topping the last one. I think that the idea that we should always be minded with when we're doing something like this, that's a reoccurring thing, is how are we speaking to this individual year? Mm-hmm. Like what makes this Follies unique, and how can we tap into that zeitgeist?
And that's a good point. So are you writing some of those skits or sketches or even musical performances? I'm assuming there's going to be some COVID-related something in there, I would imagine. So you are kind of taking some of the current events as well.
Absolutely. It would be pretty impossible not to, I think.
You forget that it's a pandemic.
Yeah, what?
It doesn't exist anymore. Waka. No, but we're really lucky this year. We've got 2 pieces of art that were specifically created during the pandemic by outside artists who were very generous enough to let us use their work. Nice. So we've got 2 musical numbers in the show that were created by friends of the company that will be performing in Follies.
That's fun. And you mentioned the grad students.
Oh, yeah.
Because of Moravian University, right? Yeah, you go to Moravian University. I caught them.
Go Groundhogs!
That's Greyhounds.
I gotta get in trouble.
You're on the board.
I have to represent the university.
I'm like the pot stirrer.
Great. Man. What was I saying?
Sorry.
Something about the
totally
grad students.
Oh, yeah, I saw them because they can you talk about that a little bit? I saw their performance, which was fantastic. Check our Facebook and our YouTube because I was lucky enough. I just walked down there. We were doing something with Santa, and you're like, "Hey, we're gonna start." And Crystal, the one performer who was fantastic, she's like, "You gotta stay and do this." I'm like, "I was anyway," but now I'm especially going to. Talk about that. Is that something that you usually do leading up to the Follies, or is that new?
Again, this is new.
And describe it because I didn't describe anything.
Yeah, this is new. Again, born out of the COVID experience, but it was great. You were down there and you said, you're like, yeah, I'm here for this other thing. I might be able to catch 5 minutes of it. And then by the end of it, you were like, yo, that was good. You got the whole thing.
I got a connection and it was a lot of fun. Well, because I'll describe it worse. They're like, hey, we're here to do the Christmas City. We're going to tell a story. And then, the one performer was Jewish. They're like, hey, surprise. We're actually going to tell the story of Judaism. And it was fun. Like, it totally went, I'm like, they didn't see this coming. And then there was
they created that.
They did a great job with
it. It was a robot dreidel who's getting a lot of likes on my Instagram account. I made a reel of him.
Dreidel-bot represent.
Dreidel-bot needs a Facebook profile or something.
It's so good. I'm like,
Dreidel-bot needs a TikTok.
Right? I made him into a reel out of this 15-minute performance. Like, I have to edit it because people need to see this. They might not go through the whole video.
You gotta bring it to the people. Dreidel-bot needs to hit the people.
If you miss Dreidel-bot, he also shows up in Follies proper.
But they are, so that is a graduate program with Moravian University.
Sure, yeah. So we have the students here, and one of the things that I knew, there's a course, 521, is devising in the studio, and 522 the year after, which is in the studio. It's devising leadership. Right. And so we got to the second year with the first cohort that came through, and we're like, how are they going to lead anything in the studio? And so at the same time, I had Missy calling from the Southside Arts District, I had Randy calling from the Sun and Courtyard, and I had Lindsay calling from over at HBP. And they're like, do you have anything you can send out our way? And it was just like, it's one of the things. It's like
community partners.
Give me something to grab onto. Give me set some parameters up, and it was like cool. That coursework which we couldn't fulfill this one way, then morphed out. It's like this is now that assignment. It's like you're gonna talk to the community partners, and you're gonna build a show that fits in their parameters and their spaces. And so this is the second year in doing it, and we've evolved with it too. But now I think it's got a whole lot better legs as an assignment, as an idea, because I think they knocked it out of the park this year.
They were great, and when it's. I try to think of it as someone who coming from outside, maybe they're coming down to shop for Christmas, and then they see this performance that not only is, it's visually you're like, what's going on, but then it's fantastic. That's part of what, this is all about, and it has to leave you with, it left me with a good feeling, but for somebody who's just coming down to the city going, this is what their city does?
So many people are coming into town anyway, and they're probably like, oh wow, it's just the magic of...
Well, and two, it doesn't hurt, the grad students were just physically yelling at people. They're like, if you don't come watch this, you're not getting any presents. And one guy came down. He was on his way up to shop. He sat down and watched the whole thing.
Yeah, they loved it.
But also, there's not a course in how to be a barker.
There we go.
Really, you have to be pretty outgoing and willing to say yes.
I think it also all comes back to Touchstone's roots as, outdoor street theater and hey, come watch our thing.
Please.
And it's very much baked into, so naturally our marvelous students are also talented in that way.
But that's another facet of of what you guys do. To get into a little bit more of the Follies, as we can talk about that and tell everybody about all the details here. What are some of your, I know I've seen you perform it multiple times. What are some of, I'm talking to Emma, what are some of your favorite characters? Do you look forward to?
No, okay.
Well, just because, they're not, I'm pointing and it doesn't. What are some of your favorite performances? And do you look forward to some of the recurring characters each year?
Yeah, so one of the recurring bits that is in, I think, every Follies ever, or at least every Follies recently, is the shopping cart ballet, which
I droned that last year.
Yes, it was
Thank you,
scariest
man.
things I've ever done. I thought I was going to clip someone's head and let him fly over.
It's all for
and you
art.
guys were bowing.
It was beautiful.
You hooked us up.
Oh my
Thank you
god.
so much for your help last
You should find that video and watch it.
I'm going to link it. So you can,
Speaking of which, we're on top of that, but before we get back to Shopping Cart Ballet, we're re-releasing the movie from last year on December 19th, and it's per donation, so.
Sure. All right. And any links that you need are in the show notes or Touchstone. Just Google Touchstone.
I'm pretty sure it was there from the first one, though. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
yeah,
Shopping
awesome.
Carts is the only thing that's
And
been on
can
it.
you describe that?
So that's another one that it's a little bit different every year. The thing that's the same is it's dancing with shopping carts. And that's pretty much the only like must have. Sometimes it's like a lot of shopping carts. Sometimes it's one shopping cart. Sometimes it's, the Nutcracker for being particularly seasonal, or it might be something a little bit more pop, or we've done some Broadway based parodies with them as well. But I always love seeing what we can come up with in terms of just the prompt dancing with shopping carts. I would say my favorite non-recurring bit is whatever strange character Sam creates. Because it's always freaking hysterical, and we're just all backstage rolling around on the floor laughing, and this year is no exception.
Well, and how do you when you approach something like this, when you create content, and do you approach this a little bit differently? Are you waiting till October to come up with ideas?
No, I'm trying to write them down all the time because I will come up with ideas throughout the year. I mean, I feel like we'll
write them down backstage
I'm
at
writing them down
the
now.
show
That
for
Aurora
next year.
Borealis.
It's like planning your Halloween costume for next year.
Sure, yeah, but my
that'd be
Halloween
great.
costume is Follies. Because by the time Halloween does come, I'm already singing Christmas songs. So, but oh my gosh, I just have like visions of, I do comedy, so I have like just a note where I just write bits down, and whether they're Christmassy or not, I will try to force them into a Christmassy vibe. And I just sometimes have ideas like, I don't want to give anything away, but I was like, I want to talk about like that uncle that loves trains,
right?
Like small trains. So that's
how many people are in this Post-it note room at a time?
This year, 12.
And is it kind of like one by one? Like, what is your idea?
Just whatever.
Throw it out. What do you got? What do you got? Yeah.
And do you find too, like you have new people coming in every year? I guess that's something we didn't mention, is that while there are people who are here for a long time, you also do have recurring or over, what's the word I'm looking
people.
for?
And then you go to the charter school.
Yeah, well, with going on,
yes.
Yeah. We for the last. For the last 22 years, there's been an apprenticeship program at Touchstone.
Okay.
And so that's what's morphed into the MFA program. And that's just the extension of that thing. So there's always been like new young talent coming to spend a year or two with us, and like proper vampires, we absorb their energy and create even better. But there's this anchor force that makes Follies what it is, and this anchor kind of idea. And it's like, whether it's an unspoken thing or whatever, among the veterans of the kind of cast, it's like, this is this thing, and we know that there are boundaries within it, but then you have this unfettered creative energy that doesn't know that there's rules coming into the studio, and it's like, cool, they're taking those crazy balls and whipping them off all the walls, you know what I mean, kind of thing. And it's just...
And it's got to be nice too to have that fresh. Like I'm speaking for myself, but like the last year, like I'm just tired of thinking of things. So when you hear people with new ideas, you're like, "That's great!" Like I'm glad that you thought of it, and I didn't have to.
You are a content creator too, so it's just like imagine having the opportunity to say whatever, and like people are like, "Okay, all I knew is that I want to do a character bit," and I'm like, "Okay, I just want to work on it." And then everybody takes, like JP runs it. He says, "Okay, everybody take 45 minutes. Who wants to work on this? Who wants to work on this? Okay, partner up. Okay, I'm going to go work on this for 45 minutes. And then after 45 minutes, we all come together and we all share what we created, and we all respond to it. And do
you even have time to write a script? Or is it just like an outline of...
No, by the end, Emma, as she acts as the rehearsal stage manager. So after any sharing, like say Sam comes in with this character idea, like she'll have something written. I'm going to work on it. No, sometimes not. Though.
Sometimes not.
But as soon as something's digitized, it goes to myself and Emma and gets kind of stored into like a Google folder. At this point, everybody's on Google folder, right? So it's and that thing eventually gets cobbled into a script. So then up in the booth, when the time comes, when we moved it into tech rehearsal, whoever's actually running the show and pushing the go buttons on the go buttons on the sound and the lights has something where they can actually play actual stage manager
but the bits and pieces come together, and that's what creates the script. So each person in the show has like ownership of the script because we've all written it together. It's so cool. You could go through
the whole cast right now if you just had all of us in a room together and be like,
I wrote that
cool.
one.
I wrote that. That's my line. That's my line. That's just a necessary
And that's gotta be so
fill-in.
fun.
I wrote that one.
So I bet you guys are watching the show as intently as the audience, just to be like, are they going to pull it off? Or, just because you've been seeing all this stuff being created, clearly you're going to pull it off. But like, how are they going to respond?
Yeah, and that's something that's always been true for Touchstone, especially with creating original theater. Yeah. It's like, okay, we know what we're trying to do. We think we know what it looks like, but like, we're not going to know until we put it in front of other humans who have never seen it before and see what they think about it. And so like, we're really excited about this year's show. We're thrilled. We're just like, okay, what are these people?
Yeah, JP has seen this thing 8 billion times at this point. So you're very nice. Yesterday, you really put it on and you were laughing really nice. But like the day before, he's like, there's nobody saying anything. I'm like, okay, I gotta rethink. But that every year, the week before we open, I'm like, everything's terrible. I have to rewrite everything. But I don't.
That goes in sine waves throughout the process. Like we started the first day, everything is hilarious, and then the second week, everything is terrible. Yeah. Oh no, everything's it's bad. And it's just like this whole thing.
Yeah. Or why is everyone laughing at the sad moment?
I'm pretty fearless going into this opening night. I think the show is completely solid.
And I think too, you guys have done hundreds of performances, probably more than that. But is this opening a little bit special just because it has been so long and people are kind of all like, how's this going to go? I mean, I know that you have, and it's right on the website, all COVID protocols are in place and people can find that information on Touchstone. But the opening in general, is there a little bit of something special here?
Yeah, I can only speak for myself, but I'm not entirely convinced that I'm not going to come out on stage for my first entrance and just like burst.
Oh my God, right?
But yeah, it's just like, even just coming back into the rehearsal room and being able to work together was just like, oh my gosh, we missed this so much. And to actually have like a full theater of audience, or mostly full, we're not seating the front row, but a mostly full theater of people, again, it's like, oh my gosh, we missed this so much. We're so ready for it. So yeah, it definitely feels different.
It's the one thing that I definitely have learned is the appreciation, and I hope that doesn't go away, because now you think, wow, I appreciate it so much. Hopefully 5 years from now, you're still like, I still remember when it wasn't there and it was not good.
For sure.
I mean, isn't that the plight of life, though?
Yeah, I know.
To make sure you remember, but also move forward
And that's what this is. It's kind of saying, hey, the last 2 years have been difficult, but
yeah, nice to see you. Actually, that would have been a good idea.
And let's be honest here. It probably wasn't easy to, as a theater company in Bethlehem or in America in general, to survive, to stay afloat during this. So I think it's also a testament to the hard work that you guys put in.
Within that, we've got to give total credit, and maybe not total credit, but 90% credit to our managing director, Lisa Jordan. She held it together through countless hours of understanding the funding landscapes of COVID and stuff.
And with a smile, she's a magical creature in this world.
So she helped me wheel this in.
All George Wagner.
And there's we're like, this looks good.
Yeah.
But this will be in for people watching.
Yeah, this is what I'm
it's
not
official.
Yeah, I almost just took credit for it. See.
So as we finish up here, let's talk about the show itself. We are recording this on whatever today is, the 1st, and we'll have this out as quickly as possible. But the show does open December 2nd and run through the 19th.
Correct.
And how many shows is there one one show per evening?
We are running, it's one show per day, except for the closing Saturday, the 18th. We'll be doing a matinee and an evening show, because closing weekend tends to be one of our most popular times.
Yeah.
Because people don't get their tickets to the last minute and then they want to go to the last weekend, but really the middle weekend is a really good weekend.
This is something too you don't want to wait to get, because I could imagine you don't want to wait to get tickets on this one because this might, this could be the year there might not be a ticket for you if you wait too long.
There's most years if you wait till the final weekend, you're not going to walk up and
especially
get a
because
ticket.
like people will, like families who have come to see Follies year after year will be like, oh, we need to wait until our kids are home from college or whatever to go, because we can go see Follies together. Yes.
Like,
15 tickets, please. Well,
you can sit in the VIP box.
Right? Listen outside.
So as we go to that, where can people find more information? Again, it's in the show notes, but it's Touchstone.
Touchstone.org, or you can hit us up on social media at Touchstone Theatre. There's also a Touchstone Theatre in Vancouver. We're not that one. We're the one here in Bethlehem.
But they're probably nice people.
They're
too.
probably.
Oh my gosh,
they're
You
very
guys should
Canada.
do like a Zoom. Or
Yeah,
something.
we constantly like accidentally get tagged
each
in
other.
each other's social media stuff, and it's fine.
See, that would be my Christmas skit. I would, like, the wrong tagging but yeah.
Yeah, we'll put them in the carts.
Very much looking forward to it. We're going to be at one of those shows, so we're excited. We haven't been to anything in a long time, too, so it's going to be one of our first forays out into live entertainment again. So we're really excited. And thank you guys for taking some time with me. For me to come in, it's always fun, again, to be out and to do a podcast not through a computer screen. I just think it makes it better. And, you can kind of talk more freely or more.
Yeah, man, and thank you for being here and everything you do. Like, you're a huge asset to the community and what you do, and so thank you.
No, I appreciate it. This is again, I think it's really that when you're presented like you guys did with this challenge, how do you react to it? And it's either you're always going to be a little defeated through a hard time, but how do you react and what can you do from it? And I honestly think we're going to be better for it. Like, there's so many people who learned so many different skills or who had to put themselves out there.
Empowered ourselves too. It's I unfortunately lost my job during the pandemic, but I don't think of it as an unfortunate situation. I'm fortunate it happened because I'm able to focus on like being here and creating art, and that's truly a blessing.
Yay. That's awesome. No, I'm so happy. Like, this is great, and we're really looking forward to it. So, everybody, thank you guys for coming on, and go see Christmas City Follies. Again, touchstone.org, and all of the information's in our show notes, and we'll see you there. Thank you again to Emma, JP, Samantha, and like I just said, go to touchstone.org to get your tickets. We'll definitely be at a show. We can't wait to see what they came up with. And I want to thank our sponsors, of course, Michael Bernardin with Remax Realty and Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub. Thank you guys for your support. If you want to support us, check out the show notes or hit us up at info@LehighValleyWithLoveMedia.com. I'm your host, George Wacker, and we'll see you next time on the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast.
Looking for a bigger home? Find Mike. Looking to downsize? Find Mike. Looking for a home in the Poconos? Find Mike. Looking for your very own bat cave? Find Mike. When looking to navigate the Lehigh Valley real estate market, the first move is to always find Mike Bernardin with Howard Schaefer and Associates of Remax Real Estate. He can help you build the right game plan to achieve all your real estate goals. Whether it be a home with 10 bathrooms, a home with a large garage to park your Tesla or vintage Ford Pinto, or just something perfect for you and your family, finding Mike Bernardin is always the best way to go. So, what are you waiting for? To make all your Lehigh Valley real estate dreams come true, all you have to do is find Mike Bernardin with Howard Schaefer and Associates of Remax Real Estate.